some of this. All right, how's it look? Does it look voluminous? All right, let's get started. Hi. We're still getting our backdrop, our angles right. We're still working on it, so just be patient with us as we figure all this out. We're not YouTubers. So before we start diving into branding case studies and design deep dives, I wanted to do a little bit of a proper introduction and just kind of introduce myself and KBCS. If you're new here, I'm Kathie Baptista. I am the founder and creative director of Kathie Baptista Creative Studio, or KBCS for short. We're a brand and design studio that creates bold, intentional, strategic branding for creative businesses. My goal for this channel really is to just have a space where we can just talk about branding. Really kind of take a look at what is it that makes branding stand out through case studies, creative insights, and just conversations around design. But before we get into all that, I figured I'd answer some questions about KBCS, about myself, our history, my background, all that good stuff. So let's get started. So a little bit about me. I've been a designer for well over a decade at this point. But to be honest, I've been a creative person my entire life. I was always in some kind of creative class or club, whether it was drawing, painting, art club, sculpture, choir, theater, what have you. But the real turning point was actually a little thing called MySpace. And I have to admit, I have to give credit to MySpace for essentially starting my career. When I was a teenager, I would spend hours on MySpace just editing my profile, curating it all so that it was my own personal vibe. What I now feel like was like my brand. You know, I would make sure that everything fit with a particular season, whether it was seasons of the year or season of my life, what I was going through. I was always curating the right music. I was behind the scenes doing some coding as a 14-year-old. I had no idea what the heck I was even doing, but I was curating this profile to essentially make it like an extension of me, of what I was going through at the time, of what I was feeling at the time. And I was constantly changing it up to reflect this. And to be honest, that's kind of how I fell in love with design. So naturally, when the time came for me to pick a major, graphic design just seemed like the most obvious choice. In 2014, I graduated with a BFA in emerging media, specializing in graphic design from the University of Central Florida. And I would say after graduating, I really fell in love with lettering and print and stationery. I worked at a stationery store designing custom wedding invitations, also at a screen printing shop where I was designing custom apparel and posters for local bands and local events. I worked as a production designer for Shutterfly, where I was reviewing custom invitations, cards, announcements, and I also was freelancing as a lettering artist. I had a lot of local clients, but eventually I was able to get some really big clients like Google, Natalie's Orchid Island Juice Company, and Charlotte Magazine. During this time, I also started my own stationery and paper goods line called Lolita Paper Goods, and this was kind of my creative playground for a while. It was an opportunity for me to just create pieces that I really loved, that I really enjoyed making, and just really helped me refine my skill sets working with paper and print. Eventually, I started working full-time in more in-house creative roles, but admittingly, I was actually really struggling during that time. I was never really feeling creatively fulfilled in my full-time jobs, and I wasn't making enough in freelance to be able to do that full-time. Sometime around 2018, I decided to make a change and kind of transition into maybe something else like agency work. To be honest, I never considered agency work in the past, especially when I first graduated. I remember when I was in school, we would do a lot of tours at local design studios, and nothing about it really appealed to me. I just remember feeling like it was a lot of bro-y style culture, the ping pong tables and the free beer and like the outings, but none of it really appealed to me. So I never felt like it was something that I wanted to do. But at this point in my career, I had already been struggling for a while. I just really was not feeling that fulfillment in my in-house roles, and I just wanted to try something new. So I decided to take on a role in a creative agency. It was a lot of hard work. I remember at the time, it was like probably the hardest I had ever worked in my career up until that point. You know, it was like a lot of late nights and quick turnaround times. We were a small team, so everybody wore a lot of hats, and there was just a lot going on. But to be honest, I freaking loved it. I loved the energy of it. I loved just working on multiple projects at the same time. I loved finally being able to flex my creative muscles. I grew so much during this time, and eventually I was collaborating on strategy and really building these full scale campaigns, it really gave me the clarity that I needed at the time. There was a part of me that knew I didn't want to work for someone forever. And if I was going to work for myself, I needed to do it in a way that really aligned most with what I love about branding. Fast forward to 2021, after years of working in the agency world, I finally launched KBCS. And it's been a roller coaster ride. To be honest, there's been some ups, there's been some downs, but it feels totally worth it. I finally feel aligned and I feel like I'm in the right place. And I've been able to work with so many incredible people, both clients and collaborators. I truly feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. And it's been pretty dope to build some badass brands for some badass clients. So KBCS kind of started out of necessity. In 2020, in the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, I was without a job. With so much uncertainty in the job market at the time, I didn't really know what to do. So I just decided to go all in and really just going freelance full time, but doing it a little bit differently this time and maybe positioning myself more as a brand and design studio as opposed to just a solo freelancer. I started working with a lot of small businesses and entrepreneurs who were also launching businesses during the pandemic and really helping them build a visual identity from the ground up. And what I realized in this time was that I really was enjoying and wanting to work more with businesses that wanted to be bold, that wanted to do things differently and were thinking outside of the box. Businesses that were trying to break away from the expected and really build things with intention. I also knew that I wanted to work more with businesses that were run by women or by people of color. So through networking, referrals, social media, outreach, KBCS really started to build a client list that really aligned more with our values, our approach, our style, and things just kind of started to click. Ultimately, I didn't want to create a studio that just put out cool stuff. I really wanted to support brands in defining their personality, tell their unique story, and connect with their audiences in a way that's intentional and strategic and purposeful and meaningful and filled with storytelling. So I've always been a sucker for cool typography. I've always been drawn to retro inspired design, whether it's classic movie posters or record covers, psychedelic art and posters, matchboxes, things of that nature that just have so much personality and color and just like little details. All of that really plays into how I design. I would say that at KBCS, our style is very bold, colorful, very personality driven. We love typography, vibrant color palettes, but we also love really like deeply conceptual ideas. We love storytelling in design. We love very subtle, unique personal details being incorporated in design, design that brings out emotion, and most importantly, rooted in strategy. It really spearheads a lot of the creative decisions that we make. So we really love working with creative businesses, brands, entrepreneurs who are really just looking for something different. A lot of our clients are in food and beverage, hospitality, creative services, industries where personality and the client experience matters just as much as the product or the service itself. We've had incredible opportunities working with large brands like Target, Macy's, PepsiCo. But regardless of the size of the business, we truly shine when we're working with brands that really care about storytelling and identity. If a brand is excited to stand out and really willing to invest in that, then we're probably a great fit. Oh my God, the biggest misconception about branding is that people think that branding is just a logo. You have no idea how many times I tell people, oh, I do branding. And they're like, oh, so you create logos? Yeah, I create logos, but that is just one small part of the bigger picture. Branding is about messaging, the client experience, how it makes people feel, how it's remembered. That's why strategy is so freaking important. When you have a solid strategy, it really guides everything, your visuals, your communications, your marketing. And without it, you're just making things look good, but with no direction. So the question about where I find inspiration is probably the most commonly asked question that I get. I don't I don't know why. I don't know why everyone cares where you get your inspiration from. But honestly, I get inspiration from everywhere. Music, film, fashion, architecture. There's inspiration everywhere. You just have to really be paying attention. I would say lately, my biggest source of inspiration has definitely been travel. I really love documenting design in the wild, whether that's signage or typography on a building or like packaging for this really interesting product that you can't find where you're from. All those things always really fuel my creativity. So I'm always kind of with my phone out taking pictures and making sure that I save them for references for later. So I would say that our approach is really different from other studios because it's very personalized and collaborative. We work really, really closely with our clients to build brands that really reflect their identity, their values, their culture, and overall their long term vision. Everything that we design for a client is always going to have a purpose, whether it's to attract a specific type of audience, whether it's to tell a very specific kind of story, or whether it's to elevate the brand into something new. We're always designing with intention. I would also say that as a Latina led studio, we're always going to really encourage our clients to really embrace authenticity and cultural storytelling. We're always working to curate brands that really reflect a client's heritage, individuality, and their mission. We care about the visuals, obviously, but we're also really, really focused on the meaning behind it. We also aren't just developing brands, packaging them up, and sending clients on their way. We're more like creative partners for our clients, really kind of working with them as their businesses grow and evolve over time. Honestly, I almost didn't. Like even right now, I'm sweating. Like I'm so out of my element right now. All these freaking lights. I don't know how anybody does it, but I almost did it. I'm definitely more introverted. I'm more private. I definitely have no desire in becoming a YouTuber or a content creator. I mean, I'm like reaching mid 30s. Like I didn't really think anybody would really care to watch. But honestly, I thought about representation. Yes, there's a lot of designers out there who are doing branding and design content on YouTube, but not many are navigating this space as a Latina, as a creative entrepreneur. And I really kind of wanted to bring a new voice to the conversation. There's a lot of how-to videos out there, but I really wanted to explore deeper and share my love and perspective on branding as a creative within the space. Ultimately, it's just a space for me to be able to geek out about branding with you guys and really just be able to share insights and help business owners and designers really understand the power of a strong brand. So one of the most exciting parts I would say about branding is I really love being able to come up with creative ways to be able to weave the client's story into their brand in some kind of way, whether it's subtle or not. I really just love being able to kind of figure out what details from everything that they've built, their story, their background, what details from that can I incorporate into the brand in a way that is just unique, that's different, that's creative. There's always that moment in the brand campaign presentation where, as we're revealing the concepts, you can just see that everything is starting to click for the client. Their eyes start to light up, the smile starts to appear on their face, and they start to get really excited. And it's really just the moment where you can tell that they truly feel seen. They truly feel like we were listening and we got them. And there's something really powerful in that, just being able to bring these ideas to life and being able to support these businesses in that kind of way. A cafe. For sure. I would say like a cafe, creative community, third space kind of place, something that people can go to and network or have events or get work done or chill and socialize. If it has a flower shop, great. A bookstore on the second floor, even better. Adoptable cats from the local shelter. Win-win. 10 out of 10. Sign me up. Absolute goals. That is totally what we would be. And you know what? Who knows? There's still time. You never know. So that wraps up this video. I hope you enjoyed getting to know a little bit more about me and about KBCS and our journey. We'd love to hear from you. So if you have any questions about us, about KBCS, our approach to branding, our favorite color, what kind of animal we would be, let us know. Drop them in the comments. And who knows, if we get a couple interesting ones, we can totally save them and make a video in the future answering them. If you're not already, make sure to subscribe to our channel to catch more videos like this, and follow us on Instagram if you want to keep up to date with all things KBCS. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye! Luna, do you have anything to say for this video? Luna? Luna approves. Luni! That's all she has to say about that.